Have with us today Representative Rosa Rebimbas, who's been with us before. Rosa is from beautiful Naugatuck, where she's lived her entire life, except for going to law school out in Utah.
Law school and undergraduate.
And undergrad.
Yes, law school in Utah, correct.
Okay, all right, great. You know, great place to be right now, except that you're the only place that would have snow at this point in time.
It sure seems that way.
Yeah. So Rosa's been with us for how many years now in the legislature? You came in as a special election.
Yep, exactly. So special election, March 2009 is when I first started here. Just seems like yesterday.
Oh my gosh. She's all set to get the state pension at this point.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked into that. There's no time with all the work we're doing here.
Yeah. But Rosa's the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee and sits on environment and
legislative management as well.
Okay, so those are the big things. Those are the big dogs, so soon enough she'll be in charge of the whole state as we know it. Married with a couple of kids, solo law practice.
Correct.
How do you do it?
Well,
have you figured out how to do it yet?
I don't think anyone truly figures it out. Certainly, the old saying of if you want something done, give it to the busy person.
Yeah.
And you certainly make do and you find the time. And then there's just no question about it. Then you need a very supportive husband and family who are there when I can't be there, certainly for the kids and our other duties and responsibilities outside of the Gold Dome.
Okay. And I mean, You've got your practice has gotten busier over the years, from what I recall in terms of talking to you over the years, and you do go to court. It's not like you just sit in the office and get work done. It's just trying to figure out. There's folks out there who are saying, yeah, I might be interested, but how do you organize it?
Sure. And I mean, obviously a very good question. And first and foremost, I would start off by saying if there's anyone out there whatsoever that's a practicing attorney that has any interest in coming up and serve, I say do it. Absolutely. Everything is doable. Certainly it is tough as being a solo practitioner, and I've got a main office in Naugatuck, and then I've got satellite offices throughout the state of Connecticut. So I do go to court, and I do appear in a variety of different courthouses. But again, it's all time management. Certainly during session, it's a little bit more challenging, having the schedule here, not really knowing concretely when we're scheduled, when we're not. I try to minimize the use of motions for continuances as much as humanly possible. And if I know that something's coming up, then I'll try to address it in advance. But there's moments and times that at the last minute, unfortunately, because we're not provided with additional notice, that there is a request for a continuance. But I have found that certainly the judicial branch has been accommodating that regard. Again, always keeping in mind the interests of the parties, our clients. And I would never file a motion without serious consideration of all of the options. And more likely than not, it's typically in my, the cases that I handle, an agreement to put on, and I'll make sure that we do that in advance at any time that we possibly can. So everything is doable, and it's a general law practice. So I do from real estate to immigration law to family law, a variety of different things. So again, it's just time management and organization. There's a lot of time spent in the office in the evenings and on the weekends. But again, it's stuff that I enjoy.
Good. It's always nice to hear a lawyer who actually enjoys what she does. And you're not always in the same court either.
No, not always in the same court at all.
And the branch has been good to you. You haven't had any judges who try to make it difficult for you because you're an attorney, because you're a legislator?
No, not at all. Certainly, I think no matter what profession you have, people have second jobs, whether as a legislator or not. You treat a judge or anybody else, and most importantly, the staff at any courthouse, with respect, and you'll be respected back. And again, we have to respect our clients' times as well. So like I said, it's very rare that I file a motion for continuance if it's a conflict in my schedule versus a motion for continuance because legitimately there's something regarding the parties itself, a discovery request, or that they need, I have a particular case that they want to do a refinance before they get a divorce. That's kind of out of our control, but that's, usually I use it for very limited purposes in that regard.
And how do you one of the things with being the ranking member, you have to read every bill. You do have caucus people who are helpful. But it's always, when you want to get something done, you make sure that you get it done yourself. So how do you get all of that? How do you prioritize that? Because you've got, you have to know every bill, because of those bills that come out of the committee, you have to talk about them on the floor, number one. But that's not number one. Number one is screening them. And just take us through from a minority perspective, if you could.
Certainly. I mean, as you just pointed out correctly, there's the whole screening process. So when these proposals come in, and they're truly just proposals, and sometimes literally it's a concept, and when we talk about concept, it's just an idea.
Except for the CBA stuff, which is all drafted and perfect.
That's always perfect when it comes in. We never need to second guess that at all in that regard. Does a fabulous job. But with all the other proposals and all the other bills, again, sometimes it is just a concept, it's an idea, so we don't even know what that language is. I have to say, on the Judiciary Committee, I'm proud to say that we work in a bipartisan manner during our screening process. So everything is brought before us, and then we decide which ones to raise, which ones to not raise in that regard. A lot of the bills, believe it or not, if people could believe it out there, things are recycled up here. So even though there's been a public hearing and maybe it wasn't voted out of committee, every year it certainly creeps up again. So some of them I'm definitely familiar with it already. And then the new ones, yes, we have to read everything. And then even for some of the old ones, there's, as they say, the devil in the details. So maybe there was something that was changed. What I pride myself, or I tried to do, and I think it's certainly a service to the advocates who are providing it, is to speak to the individuals who are actually proposing the legislation. That'll give us a better idea of what they're seeking to do. And then most importantly, the people that the legislation is going to impact. So you can kind of just streamline already, making sure that it's drafted appropriately. And then certainly during the public hearing process is hearing the pros and cons, and then working in the language itself, moving forward thereafter. But yes, I do try to read each and every bill. I think it's my duty and responsibility as ranking member of the committee. Certainly the chairmans, they do a lot of work. It goes into it. They have to run the committee meeting. They have to be very familiar with the proposals, because then they will be questioned on it when it comes to the time to voting it out of committee. But I think as ranking members, we have to be just as prepared, if not even more so, in order to truly understand what the legislation is, and then do our due diligence as legislators to make sure that it's a balanced piece of legislation, and there's no unintended consequences, which sometimes that occurs.
Exactly. Do you ever take a percentage of the bills and just give them to another one of your colleagues and say, hey, can you take care of this for me?
Listen, I've tried that on many occasions. I go up to each and every member and I say, if you've got a bill of interest, let me know. I try that kindness first to allow them on a voluntary basis. And when that doesn't work, I'll actually literally say, hey, here's a great bill. You may be interested in this. But I also respect them, because they lead other committees, so they're also bombarded with a lot of work, and many of the individuals, certainly on my side of the aisle, do have other jobs, so I'm respectful of that. And I do have good colleagues. I've got Representative Fishbein, who's also an attorney. He's handling claims, for example, so that is a chunk of work that I would have done, but now I've got him looking. Nonetheless, we're still working on it collaboratively. I still have to read through it, but at least I have another set of eyes that are truly examining and diving into it, working in a bipartisan manner with the other individual on the other side who's also working out the claims. So whenever possible, absolutely, I encourage members to take a bill and be able to look at it. I must say that the reality, unfortunately, they're busy too, so a lot of it does fall on me.
This is one of the busiest committees. I'd say it is the busiest. I don't know if it's specifically with the number of bills, but you get those bills out, and then you have so many other committees will then refer things after JF Day. And JF Day is coming up shortly. I have no idea, and I'm not going to even ask you how you're going to do it, but there's probably 4-5 weeks after JF Day, and you guys have only met to deal with the judges, and maybe tomorrow you're going to do bonding at 4:00 in the afternoon.
That's what they say.
That's what I hear. So, then you have to really start and It's just gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nuts. But that's what the short session is for, so that, I don't know what's gonna get passed this year.
Sure.
And at this point, you probably want certain things to get passed, but you don't know either, and it's probably a good time to stop. And, with Representative Rebimbas, she's one of these people you could probably have on here and do an hour that probably feels like only about 5 minutes. So I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Well, I certainly appreciate all the hard work that you do on behalf of the Connecticut Bar Association. And even though we jokefully said that about the bills, but it truly is, refreshing to have proposals that are done in a very thoughtful process and to have good language attached to it. So I know that's credit also to the members of the Connecticut Bar Association, so we certainly appreciate that. And regarding the bills that would be passed, I would say that I encourage you and your members, reach out to us. Let us know if there is something on the agenda that's very important to you and you want to make sure that, it doesn't get lost in the weeds, that you reach out to us and make sure that we're aware of it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you the next time.